World War III inevitable. North Korea conducting numerous ballistic missile and nuclear weapon tests is alarming the world for another dangerous and catastrophic war. These missiles pose a huge threat to the global peace and mankind, especially to neighbor countries like South Korea and Japan, which could be the easy targets. The North Korea has been claiming that they are in the final stages of developing an intercontinental ballistic missile which could hit parts of the US mainland. The propaganda of North Korea is to tell the world that they are a great threat to the mankind, although the actual power that they possess is yet not clear. However, the failure rate of launching ballistic missiles has been very high, which is an indication that the claims made by North Korea can't be believed. Not only this, United States have also been opposing Russia's policy in the Syria conflict and have been engaged in a proxy war with them. US support the rebels and want a change in regime in Syria, unlike Russia, which supports the Assad government. Situations could worsen if Russia violates any international law, like they did at the time of annexing Crimea from the Ukraine. United States possible attack on North Korea. Hydrogen bomb claims. Last year in January, North Korea carried out a nuclear test at the Punggye-ri nuclear test site and claims the detonation of its first ever hydrogen bomb, which is far more powerful and destructive than atomic weapons based on fission reaction. This detonation caused an earthquake of 5.1 on the Richter scale. The world leaders condemned it, and United Nations General Assembly urged strong action to be taken against Pyongyang. However, experts questioned the authenticity and pointed out that the magnitude of the earthquake was similar to that one which occurred after the nuclear test in 2013. China, in spite of being North Korea's only ally, opposed this nuclear test. North Korea called it as self-defense against the US, which possessed numerous weapons of mass destruction. Ballistic missile tests. North Korea tried to launch ballistic missile last month in April, which however turned out to be embarrassing for them as it blew up few seconds after the launch, and US cyber warriors are allegedly the reason behind this. The North Korean attempts of launching have failed 88% of the time till date. North Korea has been firing missiles and have launched 12 so far during the 9 tests in 2017. In the past 3 weeks, they have attempted 3 tests and received opposition from world leaders all across. Their latest missile attempt landed in Japan's exclusive economic zone, which is around 280 miles off its east coast, which is a place where ships operate and was extremely dangerous for Japan. The missile was believed to be a Scud-class ballistic missile, which has originally been developed by the Soviet Union during the Cold War. Deployment by the United States in South Korea. Ballistic missile tests are a threat not only to the Korean peninsula but also to the international community. Since South Korea and Japan are its closest neighbors and also US closest allies, US has ensured that it will resolve the matter of North Korea either peacefully or through any means. The US President Donald Trump talked to Chinese President Xi Jinping regarding resolving the North Korean issue and denuclearizing them as they pose a huge threat to the whole world. Xi has asked the United States to use peaceful means to resolve the issue after the US Navy sent the third aircraft carrier of the Carrier Strike Group 11 to the Western Pacific. The United Nations General Assembly have already shown concerns over the issue of North Korea and have passed a resolution to end the ballistic missile testing and nuclear program in a complete, verifiable and irreversible manner. North Korea is also developing a long-range missile that will have the capability to hit the US mainland. From United States perspective, it's very evident why they are much more concerned and are trying to make pressure on Pyongyang by their recent deployment. United States have also deployed its nuclear submarine USS Michigan in South Korean waters. North Korea warned the United States about destroying the submarine on their propaganda website Urminizokiri. The United States have started the drills with the South Korean and Japanese army, which reflects their plan to launch an attack if they don't peacefully stop all the tests immediately. South Korean media reported the famous US Navy SEAL Team 6 have been training in South Korea and if participating in drills there. With the rising differences in the relations with North Korea, US have started all preparations to attack the North Korea and end the regime of Kim Jong-un. The situation indicates at a strike that may be launched in North Korea soon. Anonymous won for the Third World War. The hacker group Anonymous have also feared the World War III and released a video asking people to get prepared. North Korea's closest ally, China, have also asked its citizens living there to come back, indicating high possibility of a nuclear war. Although China is against North Korea this time, they won't be in favor of a nuclear attack near the region. The video says that it isn't going to be a proxy war like the one in Iraq or Yemen. It's going to be a real war with ground troops and superpowers participating. Will be brutal and will cause the greatest damage environmentally and economically till date. US tested the intercontinental ballistic missile Minuteman III, maybe to send a strong message to the Pyongyang. They have 450 such missiles, each capable of traveling 8,000 miles. Although the US military have denied all connections of the launch with tensions with North Korea. Also, Japanese have already told their citizens to be prepared for a nuclear war. US-Russian relations. Syrian conflict. The Syrian conflict have made the two superpowers of the world against each other when it comes to involving the Syrian president Bashar al-Assad in resolving the Syrian issue. Russia, being a very old ally, have recognized the government of Syria and supported politically through military and financial aid. Later, they also supported through direct military involvement with airstrikes against the rebel and jihadists, which was the first time Russia participated in a military conflict directly outside the border of the former Soviet Union. Although reports suggest that the US-backed rebel groups were also hit in those airstrikes, Russia has focused on bombing areas controlled by the rebels, leaving the main cause of the terror, Islamic State, safe. The United States altogether have a different stand. They support the local rebels and have opposed the government of Bashar al-Assad, accusing him of gassing his own people, responsible for the chemical attacks, and committing atrocities on common people. However, Syria denies these allegations. As far as US intentions are concerned, they don't want the present government of Assad to continue and want to establish a new administration once the conflict comes to an end. The US supports the Kurds, who have pushed out the IS and established the control over the large portion in the Nadr region. The conflict, which was initially for fighting the Islamic State, have turned out to be a proxy war between US and Russia. The US once again is planning to attack the Assad's army, which will result in a direct fight with Russia, which can be one of the other reasons of the Third World War. Russia's possible annexation of Baltic countries. Defense experts of the US fear that Russia may invade the Baltic countries Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, similar to what they did with the Crimean Peninsula of Ukraine. Although I believe that Russia will rethink before taking any such step, because all three of these countries are part of NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, and invading them means inviting military action from the NATO. If this happens, it will turn out to be a violent war. In a situation like this, Russia will prove to be weaker against the NATO, which has US, UK, and France as its members. Contrary to this, if the US does not respond, then it will hardly take a few days for Russia to annex these countries. Russia is already recovering from economic crisis at this stage and can't afford a fight with the NATO, which is destined to create more problems for them economically. International relations. It's very clear that if a war at this scale happens, India and Pakistan won't be on the same side. Both of them maintain a diplomatic relation, both with the United States and Russia. The other case may be the United States and Russia on the same side against North Korea and China defending the North Korea. In this case, if Pakistan joins the China side, then it will be a problem for them, as India won't be at that side, and India may attack them soon. If China defends its own territory and North Korea, it won't be able to provide financial or military support to Pakistan. In that case, Pakistan won't be able to defend itself and may not be able to recover the economic loss from the war. Pakistan should be ready for a catastrophic revolt if they don't change their policy towards India. Looking at the global politics and international relations scenario now, especially between the two superpowers, it seems that a war is inevitable. The United States is already on the verge of war with North Korea, which further increases the possibility. Although, what will be the battleground and who will join which side of the war will completely depend upon the circumstances and the reason for the war.